Well, welcome to Gafferpedia. As you know, we are a audiovisual industry podcast that tackles the big topics. So today we're joined by Dino from Myles AV. And today we're discussing the concept of skin in the game, or essentially owning your own business. So Dino, we're going to use your most recent journey, I guess, as a case study. So hopefully you're cool to help us explore what it means to have skin in the game, or to, become the owner. So just briefly, because I'm pretty sure you're going to be a regular and a friend of the podcast.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I'm predicting that. So I'm sure over the course of time we're going to get to hear all of the whole Dino backstory. But for now, for today, let's just talk about your most recent transition to become the 100% owner of Myles AV in Melbourne.
Well, it's only fresh, so that's the first thing I need to is to put it out on the table. Is I am learning as we are talking, which is good. Yeah, so it's now been 6-month journey since becoming full owner of the Melbourne division of Myles AV. Obviously, it's a East Coast kind of company, so Gold Coast, Sydney, and Melbourne, but they're all completely separate.
Yes.
So they came on board 6 months. So my business partner at the time, Clint. So we've been partners since 2018. I think it was when I came on board.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then because Clint owned 100% of Gold Coast, so he had to go and pretty much save that business because it was. It was a tough time and had to head up there. So we spoke about heading up there, because obviously that meant that I would have had to have run all of Melbourne, pretty much by myself and down there. So then he pretty much moved. They all moved up to Queensland, and then I was running Melbourne by myself at the time. And then, we naturally started opening up the conversations. Actually, pretty much led the conversation about, eventually down the track, looking at buying him out of Melbourne, so then I could be pretty much the full owner of Melbourne, and that was always going to be. It was always. I can't say it was always going to be. I suppose when I came into the partnership with him, I didn't think, because we never knew about COVID at the time, so that was never on the cards originally. I never started with this going, all right, we'll get a few beers under our belt and then it's going to time for me to take over the business. I would have thought at that time that we would have gone through the whole journey till we retire as 50-50 partners. That would have been it. But then obviously things changed, and you moved to Queensland, and then, running that, and then this opportunity sort of came, and then we sort of talked about it, and we said, that we should look at doing, if I was open for the conversation, look at it. And then that changed my whole mindset.
Yes.
It's like, well, actually, this is a huge opportunity. Do I look at becoming a 100% owner? And I thought, I spoke with my partner at the time, and not at the time. Sorry, at that time, I was talking with my partner. Sorry, Claire. I love you, by the way. Still, and there's a few things in my life that we were hesitant. It's like, do we want this responsibility? Because my family is an important part of me, and there's, I have a few challenges with my family life, and particularly my daughter. But it was like, but overwhelmingly, the opportunity to be 100% owner was like, well, I need to give something. I want to have a crack at something in my life. I don't want to die and then go,
wonder,
if I tried this, what would have happened? It's like I need something to have a shot at. So
absolutely, and I think that's. It's a point in your life, but I don't think everybody is necessarily. I hate to use the word destined, but has that ambition. Not everyone probably wants to own their own business or sees themselves as doing that. And how old are you? 50.
I'll be 52 in 4 days, actually. Thank you. Yes, I can see the cake over there, by the way. Looks great. Yeah, it looks good. Thank you.
I think there's a certain time in one's life, but it's a good time, I think, in that sort of late 40s, 50s to probably do that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we wanted, and it's that was the driving ambition in the end, was to do that. So
the original structure, you were partners with Clint. Did you notice a big difference when you? I mean, so the concept of being skin in the game means obviously you've got a financial investment in the responsibility of it all.
Yeah.
But when you're a minority or at least an equal partner, it's kind of shared. But when you go to 100%,
it's a different ballgame altogether, and that's what I'm learning now.
Yeah.
So when we were 50-50, it was a really good synergy because I think Clint and I are completely different people. We're so different. His strengths were always the financial side of the business, and he's a really good numbers man, and really great about only spending money where you have to spend money. And it's like unless a piece of equipment goes out, 80% of the time, I'm not even going to think about buying. It's like it needs to be there needs to be a return on investment on each.
But he's had been doing it, and still.
Oh yeah, and really good at that sort of that sort of thing. So the financial side of the business, BAS, everything account, was always kind of run by Clint's side of the business. Clint, was kind of more orchestrating that side of it.
Yeah.
And I was more the hands-on. I was more running the business, dealing relationships, clients, building rapport, and actually quoting. And so I was more on the hands-on kind of guy.
And it's almost like that perfect setup when you are partners with someone. If you can both bring something unique, you can kind of round each other.
And my strengths are on the floor, people quoting. That's that's what I know. That's what I do really well.
Yeah.
They're the bits that I really, really enjoy and love every day. Kind of is that kind of account managing sort of sense of the sort of business. So that's what that's been the biggest, I suppose, journey for me right now.
Yeah.
But it's also been the part of the business that I've been wanting to know more about. So these are the bits that I'm also excited for in a sense as well, because this is now. I've got to understand the business model a lot more now coming, and it's not going to, it's been 6 months, but the 6 months we've just gone through, it's just been so crazy. So, I've been more still focusing on running the business than trying to get my head into the business.
Yes.
And sometimes maybe that's the best way to learn, like it's out of necessity.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. So, so they're the bits I'm really looking forward to now, and I'm on my journey, so to speak, and learning more about that now. And I've now gotten a few, because as you're signing off on BAS and things now, so it's kind of like, so how does this work?
Yeah, exactly.
So you spend this and this, and you owe this, and then you can deduct that, and then it's like, oh, geez, it adds up.
Yeah, exactly.
How much do I owe? It's like, oh, right. And then, your super comes through.
And the whole thing
they're sending through, do you authorise this? Like, well, I think so. What about?
It's an eye-opening experience.
And the whole thing of having to leave all that aside because there's no surprises when tax does come around. It wasn't my money after all.
No, that's right, exactly. And then, and it's, well, now it's a perfect example. We're in January, and for, most of us who do corporate AV, we have 4 weeks of, well, pretty much
nothing.
6 weeks almost of
sit around doing podcasts, really.
Pretty much, that's it. That's it. So, there's that 6 weeks. So, I've always known about the life cycle of a 12-month period, because the spring is always the ridiculous time of the year where you have your September, October, November, December, where your figures are just out of the blow through the water, and your figures are really good and healthy, and everyone just thinks, well, you guys must be killing it, because you had all these great months. But then it's like, but now I've got 6 weeks of paying all my staff, and there's no work coming in, and and then because we're a venue based, and then your all of your venues are on 30 days in a month kind of thing. So then what work we get in February, I'm not going to really see now till March, April. So it's like, well, do I have enough, is there enough money in the bank to last for the next, the next, 6 payrolls kind of thing,
Exactly.
So.
And it's that sort of enlightenment or that sort of, eye-opening experience that as an owner you've obviously now start seeing. So you went from obviously a general manager in one business to being a 50-50 partner in the next, and now the owner of it, 100%. The difference between being that GM to that 100% owner, I mean, how much did you know of all that?
Oh, look,
and that's every business is different on how much the owner divulges and how involved you are.
Yeah, look, I look, because it was a small business, I was very close with the directors, and they kept me involved with a lot of the parts of it. So there was bits of it, but there was a lot that I probably wasn't aware of. So that side of things, where I kind of had a general kind of knowledge, which was kind of good.
Yeah.
But then it's obviously but I would go home at the end of the day and not worry about it.
And you could go on Christmas holidays and go.
I wouldn't. But now, when I look at.
That's right.
When I look at what we've got in the bank, and then I sort of, then it's you realise how many payrolls you've got to come.
Exactly. You look at calendars very differently, don't you?
Yeah.
You just look at obligations.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, geez, I hope I can. It's like
it's that responsibility factor.
Well, suddenly I've got a family that, and my family I consider my staff. They've got to be paid.
And I guess as when you're an employee, you go there, you do the best job you can, and then you go home thinking, well, I've done the best job I can.
Yeah.
And the rest is up to everyone else. But when you're the owner, and as you said, it's like your family. You sort of feel responsible for those people. For their income and all of that kind of thing, and you want to make sure you don't let them down.
That's it, exactly. So
you're now zoomed way out, and you've got to look at the whole thing, as opposed to when you're in different roles, you're a bit siloed, and you're kind of looking at your own thing. And we're all brought up to believe that the show is God, and that's we're there for, to deliver that for the client. But you're now got to start thinking about the business.
Yeah. So
next week and next month and next year.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate that we've just gone through a nice growth period as well. So the last 6 months we've pretty much nearly doubled in size, which is great.
Yeah.
But then with that also comes equipment and purchasing equipment.
And you've had to
keeping up.
So
lease and...
Yeah, so I did an initial lease for just buying into the lease to sort of get the venues up and running.
Yes, yeah.
Which was one part of it. But then once you're up and running, you realise that there's a lot more that you still need.
Yes.
And it's mainly, I think for me now, the equipment purchasing is to minimise labour, and because I realised, I suppose from our business model, from pretty much where I've been going from past businesses as well, I've always been small to medium-sized kind of businesses. So the bigger shows would only be every now and then. We would only do big shows, maybe 2 or 3 every 6 months or something. So the big shows weren't the bread and butter. The smaller events were the bread and butter of all the events that we do. Yeah. So the big shows would be there. So you would cross hire. You would just get the lighting would just all come cross hire. The big, if I needed a bigger PA, it's like, because I'm only, back to that, only buy equipment that you use 80% of the time. So the mentality was never buy the big 20K projectors and things like that, because we only use them once, twice a year. It doesn't make sense to spend all that money. Yeah. But now that we're slowly in a couple of venues where the bigger shows are more regular, what I was learning was that the cost of doing a big event in there was just killing me in labour. It is killing me in labour because it just...
Pickups and drop-offs
and then just on-site and, guys out in scissor after post-event, and because we've got to rip it all down because it's got to go back to the...
Yes.
And
it has to be the next morning.
I've got a window of 2 hours because they've sold the room for the next day, and if I don't get it out in that next hour... But if I own that piece of equipment, I could just, I can just start leaving it up there. So I'm slowly now...
Yep.
So that's also part of the financial side of things now, is like I want to keep investing into the company now. I'm in that sort of investing mode, but it's like, how much can I afford to invest right now? Because I kind of would like to, I don't want to just keep going finance, because I've already got a finance part of it, which was the initial equipment purchase. I don't want to keep financing. It'd be nice to actually start building up as well.
But it's hard when you, like you said, you've had a massive growth period over 6 months. It's kind of like you have to invest to keep up.
Correct.
And
yeah.
Like you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But then the idea is then down the track, then it's going to reap. Yeah.
Well, exactly. And, we're sort of at that mentality now of any big event we're going. It's kind of like, it's saying, because I've got essentially a good, really team behind me now. And it's like any good show we do now, even if it's a small percentage, if we're buying one piece of gear or something, just slowly chip it away at it.
So I guess it was a very good move to buy out and continue on with Myles, because obviously from a bank's perspective, you're already got a good track record, you're proven history, as opposed to setting up Dino AV.
It was challenging though, because once again, being with Clint, he kind of was a lot more the guarantor for a lot of when we were 50-50. So one of the things when I needed to start buying more equipment and then also buying more equity into the business as well, was I had to then go to the banks as, this is all on me now. You've got to take got to take my business partner out of these guarantors. So it's all suddenly like, so tell us about your tell us about all the houses you own. I go, well, I don't really own any houses, and but I want to eventually. But it's like, well, that doesn't
it is challenging.
It's challenging. So that was the biggest thing as well. I wasn't sure. The journey for me to buy the extra, to buy the full percentage of the business was trying to work out how I was going to get the finance for it. Yes, like that. So so that I eventually managed to do that. So that was a big thing. That was a big thing for me as well. Was getting finance and working out how to do that.
And the family was all on board, or is?
Yeah, they're all up for it 100%, which is good. And that's been another journey now, is because my partner, she was running her own business anyway, but she's an artist, but she's had to take a backward step as well, because the kids and getting kids to school, and because our industry is not, it's like I start at 9 o'clock every day, so I can do that. Every day is different, every hour is different. We can what's going to happen tomorrow, I can't tell you, because anything.
Are you going to be home for dinner? I don't know.
I should be. But,
have you found that even just in the last 6 months, that time investment go way up?
I've spent, definitely. Yeah. So, and I think that's also because you're also, I always want to lead by example as well. I think that's one of the big keys, I think, of success as well, as leading by example. Out there, showing people, I don't mind. Look, I'm on my hands and knees gaffer taping. It's like we all do what we have to do. So
to get over the line.
Yeah, to get it over the line. And I think as the 6 months, as our jobs got bigger and the venue that we're in, has larger events. It was just a lot more hands on. So it's definitely been a lot more challenging over the last 6 months. So having family who understand that and are appreciative of what you're doing and mindful of what you're doing, and I suppose and forgiving.
That's it.
But it's tough,
Yeah, I mean, it can improve if you obviously reinvest and there's more people and build a team that allows you to say, I'm going to have this time off, or that only happens if you can manage it and organise it.
Well, that's what we're doing now, and that's I've got a couple more staff starting now as well, and and a lot of that was the unknowns as well. So I took on a lot of the role, like I'm still essentially an account manager for one of our key venues. So I'm trying to run the business and be an account manager, and I didn't realise how involved that was going to be. So it was, I kind of got absorbed more of being an account manager than a business owner. So and towards the end, I'm like, I can't do this because I want to be a business owner now. I don't want to be this account manager. Well, I enjoy being the account manager, but I can't be the account manager. I think that's the difference as well. It's what I want to be, and then I realised it's like, but you can't be.
That's the annoying thing. It's like that extra responsibility. It's not. you didn't get into AV to run a business. You know
No,
what I mean?
exactly. No, that's exactly. That's so true.
You have to.
Yeah. So they're things that you sort of. So it's going to be interesting. So as we got to the end of last year, the biggest things were too involved with certain parts of the business where, right, these are the areas we've got to improve on, and that's putting more staff on. But then it comes back to the can we afford to put more staff on? And that was why I took on a lot of responsibility, because I didn't know. I kind of needed to fight. I need to find out, how are things going to breathe, kind of thing.
Yes.
In terms of the venues and stuff like that. So I kind of now know.
Yep.
It's like, all right, let's put somebody there.
Yeah, you know what you're dealing with.
Yeah, so that's kind of the structure that I'm working at right now as well. So fingers crossed I'll make good decisions, because that's the problem. Small business, you make one bad decision, it could be catastrophic very quickly.
Absolutely. And you've put it all on the line.
And it's all on the line now.
Yeah.
It's all 100, but there's no pointing fingers.
No, but I guess that's when you go back to your mentors and your past experience, and sometimes it's the past is about learning what not to do as much as about learning what to do.
Yeah.
Do you find there is a lack of, I guess, of connections and groups or people you can talk to and similar?
Yeah,
it can be a bit isolating being the owner.
No, it's exactly right. And I think that's a big key, is knowing people to talk to. And I look back on the journey, and there's a few owners that I do talk to, particularly, the relationship I've built up with you over the years has just really been about, I suppose, talking, about ownership or, just business.
Well, not even directly about it, but just having someone in the same...
I think someone in the same realm, and there's a few other people that I talk to on those sort of things, and we sort of catch up, but they're probably they're the things that you take on for your own your own initiative to kind of do and talk to people and stuff, but otherwise they're not really out there sort of thing, I was
going to say, you're not surrounded by people every day doing the same thing.
No, well,
so you have to go find that somewhere.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. So, and they're only by chance or whatnot, but they're only come sporadically through times when you happen to, might be calling about another thing, and then we just end up in a conversation about, it's like, oh, how's things going here? How are you finding it? And, sort of thing. So I think they're really good things to do that I would like to do more of. So, I think that that mentoring group is kind of good. So I suppose my mentor at the moment is still is Clint, my old business partner, and that's kind of what we kind of talked about as kind of like buying him out was also keeping him on for a couple of years as a mentor.
Yeah.
Because I knew there was parts of the business that I didn't know very well, and that's what made my decision as well, was knowing that I have him still available.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, it would have been...
it's a perfect way to do it. I mean, I'm not saying that Clint would have necessarily advertised it and said, anyone please offer me, but it's a great opportunity to come in as a partner and then to buy them out and become sole owner. That's probably the ideal way.
Yeah.
As opposed to setting up Dino AV.
No, and it's funny because, I think... because previously I've always been an account manager. I've actually never been an AV tech.
Yeah.
I think my only AV teching was I worked at PwC for 6 years just as their on-site AV tech. It was just setting up projectors. But I don't really consider myself a AV tech. I've always been more an account manager and things like that. So,
because there are those guys that obviously, but they tend to be more into buying the cool toys, and it's more technical.
That's it. Yeah, but I think all my way through account managing was the amount of people that would come up to you and say, "Oh, are you the owner?" Because I think
you sort of carried yourself that way.
Yeah, and I think it was just my mentality was always give the business 110%. But I think if you treat the business as your own when you're going through, it's just a natural. I think it's kind of what I really wanted to be. And early on in the piece with the previous company I was at, it was always dangled in front of me that, potentially there'd be a bit of partnership involved. And that always sowed the seed in my head and was like, this is where I want to be. And then, and then with my normal kind of work ethics and, just always give everything 100. Just, I always want to make sure everybody's 100% on everything I do and, make sure everybody's looked after and stuff. So, so I was always, it was always funny that people always used to say to me, sure, business owner, and it always resonated with me. It's like, what says that? Maybe I can be, I'm going to be the business owner. This is going to be me. It's going to be me. So that always stuck, and that was my journey. I think my ambition.
Was the dream different to the reality?
Oh, very much. Yeah. It's completely different.
I mean, I know because I was similar, and I always carried myself with what I thought was a high degree of proprietorship and ownership and treated it like it was my own. But the reality is when I did, it's like, wow, I didn't really know, really. I mean, I was really about the show being executed and the client being happy and I thought, obviously the business's needs being looked after, but I didn't know the first thing about
No.
Really.
Yeah, there's everything behind the show.
Yes.
Yeah,
But now you have to fill your time with, like we said, we didn't get into it to do that side of it necessarily, but it's part and parcel.
And
I
still hear it now. People say things like, surely that bit of gear's paid for itself 10 times over, or surely that job made a whole bunch of money. You can't buy this. And you go, that's got to pay for all of summer.
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand.
And that's it. And you've got staff who,
don't draw a wage from the show.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's
and
like
the rent and...
I think that's a mistake I made early on, was pricing myself in the moment.
Yes.
Basically, and not taking all that into account and say, oh, no, this is good. This is a good amount of money. And then, as you say, you've got the quiet times, you've got all these investments in gear and upgrades and things you need to make. And you realise, oh, that actually, if I broke it down, that wasn't very much at all to me.
No, that's right.
The same way the clients will often, we've all heard now, I just wanted to rent it. I didn't want to buy it. And all the palaver that people say, they sort of think that I could go to JB and I could buy that TV.
Oh, yeah.
But,
how many times do you hear that?
Yeah.
But it has to... it has to last, but also there's heaps of times where that gear's not being rented out.
Yeah.
So every hire is paying for those days as well.
Yeah.
And it's the logistics, like you were saying before. Like if you're going to cross-hire something or if you're going to buy something from JB or whatever, there's all this stuff around getting that TV up and in place.
And it's just the case, so
it doesn't break on the way.
Yeah, well, that's right. Half the time, like I think we've spoken before that half the time the cases are worth more than the actual products themselves. So
let alone the big city stand and the whole decimator.
Oh, well, that's right. And everything else that goes with it, and those, SDI cable, everything that goes.
Cables, bloody hell,
yeah. So
and that's when stuff gets lost too. You look at it so differently, don't you?
Yeah, that's the big thing now. When you just going out and stocking up on power cables and just these small little, items there, and each cable is costing you, $100, $150 a cable kind of thing.
So when things don't come back, or
when your venue, are out there going through your cupboards and stealing all your cables, and then you go through the kitchen and then you see, all their cookers are all, they're all got my test and tag, which are now all out of date because it's been in there for 12 months and nobody's bothered to look at, at that, and then that's on me,
exactly.
because it's got my sticker on it. And it's like, there's a bit of money there that
definitely
that just is going out the window, and nobody seems to care about it. And it's like, it's just a cable. So, well, it's not just a cable.
Fuel, tape, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But when it's something that's lost on a pank down that now impacts the next job, and where you're missing, I don't know, like you're missing a skirt for the operator surround. So not only is the skirt gone, but now that frame doesn't have a skirt. And I mean, I've got to go to that guy who makes them, and I've got to...
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
And in the meantime, someone's got to go pick up another one from somewhere, and
that's something so simple.
Time and money.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. So, they're all parts, and and that one little piece means that whole kit is now non-usable.
Yeah.
And as an employee, I guess that's an inconvenience, but as a business owner, it's like that's impacting that down the line where you said you're trying to make sure over the next 6 weeks that we can pay everyone and get everything sorted. All those little things can...
Yeah, that's right.
So it sort of bears more heavily on you, I guess, all those little things.
And you've got to put all that, compartmentalise that a bit, because you can't go off at the next young kid who's... it's not him.
Yeah.
And equally, he's just there to come in and do that job. And, because we've all worked for those guys that just keep carrying on about stuff that happened 17 years ago, and it's like,
Yeah,
as a young
that's
guy,
right.
you kind of go,
Yeah.
oh my God, dude.
Or that kid that forgets to bring a bracket or something, and then then you get to the job, and then you have to send them
Yes.
back to go and get the bracket, and then so and then you realise that that kid that forgot the bracket has now worked 2 hours longer and now has made 2 hours more. He's actually made more money.
More money by
making the mistake because he's actually now had to work longer because I've had to keep him on longer. So it's like, well, this is actually not a bad little raw. Just keep forgetting little bits, and I'm going to add, there's 3 hours that I can make. There's 15 hours a week that I'm going to make.
That illustrates kind of a big difference between being a business owner and an employee in that sense. It's just like you can reap benefits from risk that you put in, but all of these things, it's almost like a direct correlation with how successful something is.
Yep.
You can either do really well or, be impacted by it. Whereas as an employee, it's all just time that you spend there. You don't take a financial hit necessarily. You don't. So it's that, like you said, that mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's a really different experience.
Yeah, because now when you see guys on site and they're not doing anything, and you question, you go, well, why are we starting you at this time?
Yes.
Why are we not starting you in, you're really trying to trim all those, because 1 hour here, 1 hour there,
Labour being such a...
labour's the big thing.
It's such a hard commodity to come by these days, though. So to waste
Well, that's the other side of the coin as well, yeah. First getting it.
And I think that's something that's not really understood is because you might be looking to save an hour here, save an hour there. And then as the employee, they might be saying, they're trying to pinch an hour from here, pinch an hour from there. It's like, no, you don't understand. I'm going to hire you next month and the next month after that because I can afford to, because I've done this. So in the long run, you're kind of benefiting from that.
Yeah.
But in the short term, they say, I'm missing out on a couple of hours.
Sure. But a laptop gets nicked from a setup. Someone says, it's just a laptop, mate. And, you probably made shit tons of money on that. Like, how many times has that been paid for? It's like, but it's not that. It's that money should have gone to something next month that you're actually going to really need. Now it's not.
Well, that's right, exactly. Because it's pretty much trying to look at what we can start buying more of to make all of these places run more efficiently.
Yeah.
And it's like what I'm trying to do is not rely heavily on getting equipment from our office to our venues. I'm trying to now stock all of our venues to be self-sufficient.
Yep.
And that's more,
that's always a challenging...
That's the challenging part, exactly.
Not over-investing and not having... You want to be able to utilise your assets, but equally, what's the cost of that utilisation? Driving around, balancing things about. Yeah. So skin in the game, having equity for you worked. Would you consider the future where you would partner one of your young guys in to sort of keep the journey going?
Very good question. And the answer is, I think, would be yes. I would look, I know because of my journey, I think having the opportunity of becoming a partner, I think means loyalty as well. I know I was very loyal to a business because there was always the chance of being that partner. So I think
as
there's
opposed
always
to profit share or, I guess, just being paid well, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I was always on a profit share back at the old days. But I think having a partnership, because then there is a little bit of equity, I suppose, or you've got a piece of that business that that you actually own. So there's definitely is. So yes, we'd definitely be looking at that, I think, down the journey. But then I look at my journey, and it's not something that happened overnight.
No,
it took me a good 10 years to get to probably finally having a chance of ownership. So they're the other things that I kind of think about as well now. Is not just giving away everything straight. It's like it's actually enjoy the moment now. Actually learn as much as I can. But I just like the idea of partners because there's always that person that you can lean heavily on that to make decisions, and so not everything's just on you, and you can kind of have somebody else to go, what do you think?
I think having people to bounce off is huge. That's something that I miss a lot of the time.
Well, you would, as by yourself.
Just talking through stuff, and that's, I guess, where the network comes in. We all kind of know people that are in similar boats, but they're not there at your disposal.
No,
necessarily day to day, and just having those people in the office that you can talk things through.
Yeah, so I think that
have that skin in the game, so that there's also they're after the same things that you are.
Yeah, exactly. So
did you find? Well, I know with my own personal experience, it was as a minority partner in one of my earlier businesses. There was a difference in how my financial and business arrangement structure was quite different to my operational structure. So I was the managing director, essentially. I was a minority business owner, but I was the general manager of that business. And obviously, operationally, it was all on me, but financially, it's shared. And I guess maybe initially I misunderstood that and saw that we were more even, like the same distribution was in this, but operationally, it was 100% me. Ownership-wise, it was 33% me. And I guess that's always a potential misconception, that you can fall into, that you can kind of go, aren't we partners? Oh, no, we're not partners operationally. It's all on me.
Why am I doing it? Why am I just...
They're two different things, aren't they?
Yeah,
You've got to kind of separate that brain a bit.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what led to our discussions, I think, with Clinton myself, was, I think, because he moved away and then I was kind of running. So it was... that discussion came on early in the piece.
He could have stayed as a...
I could have, absolutely. Yeah,
You're
100%.
running it.
So, and that's the hard... I think that's always the trickier part when you've got partnerships.
Yeah.
Is unless everybody has an equal role at what they're doing, I think then it becomes really tricky, and and then you could easily fall in that trap of it's like entitlements almost, kind of like, why am I busting my chops here just to make you all this, just for you?
Well, it's a real relationship, isn't it? Like it's very different to just working together in a business, and there's that that weight of who's putting in and earning what they're taking out. It's a hard thing to work out.
The hard part. So
and did you have, and we should have, obviously, if you go into this again, shareholders agreements and obviously pretty robust understanding and documentation and kind of clear signed agreements of who is doing it and do what. And
well, that's right. Yeah, I think you just need to put all that out on the table early on in the piece.
And to do it properly, you almost need to have an exit strategy at the start.
Yeah, actually, and that's I know from conversations I've had with other people, and I know not having that exit strategy was the biggest mistake that they've mentioned that they didn't have. And that's where things got quite ugly, because they didn't have a clear outline of what that strategy.
Is that kind of like, if this and this happens, then this is going to happen?
Yeah, or even if I think if you decide that you want to go this way, then what?
Yeah, particularly
what's the process?
If you're bringing in one of your young guys who's 30-something and you're 50-something, I mean, you've got 10 years of work and he's got another 30 years of work, or so you've got to kind of go, well, in 5 to 10 years time, I'm going to want to do this, so you don't get into that. I thought we were partners, I thought we were going to be doing this forever, so I'm 20 years older, so obviously we're in different stages of our lives.
And it was funny because I think when we started the business, we never knew about, because obviously COVID came in, so we had to almost remodel what our agreement kind of was, because it was so unforeseen.
Yeah, definitely.
So we kind of almost had to reshape that all together, and then just amicably discuss that and then work it out. So look, I'm so lucky that it was so amicable, and it was also him wanting the best of me as well, which is good, because I've helped him on his journey, which was great, because pretty much helped him, I think, succeed as well in his life as well. So I think it was also that mutual respect of wanting to now help me on my journey as well. So that was all the other, thing that was really good. So my story is a good story in terms of I've seen it go the other way, and quite often does go the other way. It's usually the other way that it happens when people are trying to take on percentages or whatever. It's usually, because of there's a fallout or something like that. So,
definitely.
But that wasn't our case. So that worked out well.
Very good. So the future, obviously, maybe bring in one of your young guys and more growth, more venues.
Definitely more venues and more growth is the goal. But slowly. I don't want to. Always wanted to have lesser. I kind of wanted lesser clients, but look after them really well. I think that was always kind of what the model was, and I think with that model, it worked well. That naturally you're just going to grow anyway, because I suppose the good thing with venues is quite often there's so much staff movement around and managers change, and so you're the longer you're in the game and the more rapport you have with managers and things, they all move on, and then opportunities come here, and then things just organically kind of grow from that way. So we've never really gone hard on business development. I think it's just naturally kind of just a lot of it's been in the right place at the right time, and people, just finding out and talking to people about where things are at, where contracts are, and, finding out what issues they're having and what we can do to help, and then things kind of evolve that way. So, the future is, hopefully a few more venues where, obviously, a size where you can spend, we have an on-site part on that venue, so you on-site account manager and staff, so we can try to make those venues run by themselves essentially. So, which would be good, so their own kind of own entity of the business. So you're not necessarily always supporting them from our head office the whole time, which is would be the key. So making them all run more efficiently, and then it'd be really good to bring people up and. I'm really looking forward to mentoring. Is the big thing for me. Is what I'd love to do. I want to try to pass on some of the skills I've learned, or just the way I think about things as well.
Well, that's kind of important, because as you've said, you've had to move away from some of the things you were doing in the business because you've got other responsibilities now. So the people that you're bringing through, everything that you've learnt along the way, how to do that. You need to pass that along, so that can still happen while you're off doing the other business development.
Well, because all my business development has come because people have bought me.
Yes.
And it's a relationship I've built, and I've been. I suppose letting go of that has been the hard part, and that's why I've taken on account managing roles and stuff, because I want to make sure this is molded the way that I want to get molded. And if you leave it to somebody else, it's like, they're not doing it the same way that you like to do it. So
it's really hard to.
It's so hard, isn't it?
But if you want to be able to say, I am going to be home for dinner, and I am going to be going to get away this week.
So,
it's really hard though.
It's so hard. Exactly. So now trying to find the right people with the right attitude. And then, but I really want to mentor. So, and the other way I'm going to be able to mentor is stepping back.
Yes.
Filling those roles, and then spending some, quality time with these people. And because it's a great industry, and really I wouldn't want to do any other role, and to be able to work with people day in, day out.
And it comes from that lead by example as well. If you're operating the way that you want other people to operate, and people see that, that's going to naturally happen. I know, we used to work together many years ago, and just being in the office, sharing the office with you, I know I picked up a few things, especially like you said, from an account management point of view. One thing I noticed is people would call up like a client, and you guys would be chatting like you're great mates who've known each other for years, and there's just this great. I know before that I always thought, we're very corporate here. We need to be very, we need to be serious and talk about serious things. And then I'd talk to you're just like talking to a mate. You're working together and you're getting the job done. And I learned a lot from that myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's 100%. Like you've got to, I think, build a bit of trust. And we're in a creative space, so I think to be kind of like that is like, well, at the end of the day, they're actually trying to do something a bit creative and things, and I think you can be a little bit relaxed. And I think if you come across as enjoyment, and it's only going to work its way through the actual event itself as well. So,
and it gives the other person permission to go, cool, I don't have to be so serious here.
Yeah,
or like,
no.
I don't,
Yeah.
I can relax and we can just talk about it.
Yeah. And I think, and I've always enjoyed my role because I think it's the only role where I can actually be true to myself in terms of the way I'm talking to you is exactly how I would talk to anybody else.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm not putting on anything.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be fake or anything like that. It's just I genuinely am interested in knowing, you know, a little bit about you, about what this event, and just, because whenever I take on a new job, the first thing I always ask is, tell me about the event itself. Tell me a little bit, who's it for, and you've got to understand.
Yeah.
Things before you go down. What do you need? It's like if you can. I try to always. You've always got to paint the picture a little bit. So
Sometimes they're taken aback by that question. I do the same, and they're almost like, "Oh, do we need to talk about that? I just need 2 screens." And it's like, well, this, it's okay. Just tell me what you're doing.
Yeah. But there are some people like that, and then you go, okay, all right,
cool.
I'll just talk about that. That's fine.
Yeah. But for the most part, I think they're happy to. But it's a bit of a shock that you kind of like want to know.
Yeah. But a lot of so many friendships I've developed from are all clients.
Yeah.
It's like I've become really close friends. With them.
Yeah.
But it's funny how you can help them out. Like you find out and they say, well, actually, by the sounds of it, you don't need that. You need this and it'll be cheaper and it'll work better.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, wow.
Yeah,
No one's ever said that.
No.
It's like, well, no one knew what you were trying to do.
Yeah. Very good. So yeah, hopefully some more skin in the game for some of your young people, and but ultimately, it's been a good, rewarding new first 6 months.
It definitely has been. It's been hugely rewarding,
And
challenging, and really looking forward to learning a lot. I feel like I'm a new kid on the block, essentially. But really, really looking forward to taking this challenge on. And I think just, I've got to change. I think it's also me learning about myself as well. So, I've got to be a bit more, because I've always been a little bit, not softery, but, I've always taken the side of the staff and always out with.
So you're empathetic.
Yeah, exactly. So now I've just got there's that little bit of management kind of skill that I've got to sort of take on board, where I've got to start being a little bit bad cop, maybe. I always play good cop.
Yeah, that's something I struggled with as well.
Yeah. So now I've got to learn to play a bad cop, because you're going to have to. Because when
this needs to get done,
this has to happen, and I've got to make that decision. That because otherwise the consequences if I don't make this decision, is going to be it's got to be catastrophic, and I can't afford that.
No.
Now that I've got so much, now it's all it's
particularly if
financially now.
Hopefully you don't have to, but if it's got to make it redundant, or someone's not working out, there's tough.
Well, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think one of the biggest things along those lines that I had to realize is like, not everyone's going to like you all the time, and that's okay.
That was the thing, because I always liked to be liked. I always wanted to be liked. You can't be. It's like now I've got to go. Well, there's got to be decisions that you're going to make that people are not going to like.
And it's like, there's no way I can say this that's going to make it happen and make them go, yeah, great, I agree. Like, You just they're going to not like it.
Yeah, you just got to take a big deep breath in and out, and just go, this is it.
Between being their friend and being the boss. And
that's So that's the other big part is kind of working out where that line shifts to. And so that's the other part. That's part of the journey. It's like, well, this is what has to happen now if you're going to go down this path. You have to. You might. People will now start talking behind your back, because you're the owner now. So they're going to start talking, having, where you're always part of that conversation.
That's right.
And now you're like, it's like, well, actually, they're talking about.
Yeah, you can't take it personally.
Yeah.
And it was like you were saying before, not everyone aspires to that. Maybe you don't want to deal with that, and so you don't want to take that ownership role. You want to still stay one of the team, and
Yeah. But some of them will aspire to it. They're just not ready to yet.
Yeah.
No.
It's a journey thing. I mean, you don't expect some 26-year-old necessarily.
No. But the ones that come up to you that, I suppose, that ask the questions and not afraid to ask the questions, but are generally interested in certain things, that want to know more about, not just about the job itself, but more about the business and what's involved and, you know, why we do things, you know, is always refreshing as well. So that's always, you know, it's good.
Did you come from a small business sort of family?
No. So, like my background is Italian. So, you know, and my parents, well, Dad's passed on now, but he would have been 90 now, and Mum's in her mid 80s. The tip, you know, when you see Sushi Mango, that's pretty much that's my family. That's exactly what. So that is so on point. So I even talked to Mum. I go to Mum and go, do you even know what I do? She still has no idea. She still has no idea. Like, she still thinks I'm just an employee.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, you've been working long hours. Oh, geez, you know, it's like...
I'm going to have a talk to your boss.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, you're not eating enough. You must eat. So...
I've got a lot of immigrant families were small business owners, you know.
Yeah, right. So no, I had none. So it's all been everything I've had to take on board. And I think it's just, my journey has always been sort of that account managing kind of thing. You know, I started at The Age newspaper as a junior cashier, straight out of school. So I never went to uni. Started as a junior cashier, and then I got promoted to like an account management for advertising agency. So worked there, and then was there for a while. Then travelled overseas, and then became a ski rep for an Italian ski company, well, an English ski company, but an Italian ski field. So that came with looking after people and account managing and organising, because I had to organise ski classes, so that became that sort of role that kind of fits in with where I am now, and then just a bit more sales. So I was always on that sales sort of path.
It's funny how all these roles that might not seem directly related, like they all influence you.
100%, yeah.
I mean, like my first job growing up was as a basketball referee.
Yep.
And just the amount of conflict resolution and working with people and you know, all that kind of thing that I now realise, I probably learned a lot of that back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that's where hospo and bar and all that stuff's great.
Yeah, no. And it was just only by chance. I remember I was sitting on a park bench with a mate because I was really down. Like, it was pretty much at the rock bottom, and was on I was working at Foxtel, that's right. I was working at Foxtel, and it was all direct selling with Foxtel, door to door.
I remember that.
And it was commission only, so there was no salary, and there were weeks where, because I was once again too nice and not a bastard enough to go, you know, see the opportunity of this poor lady that really wanted it but couldn't afford it.
Yeah, rather than saying,
I'd say no, you just sign them up, just don't worry about it. So why I enjoyed that role and made a lot of good skill, you know, learned a lot. I wasn't very good at it because I was too nice about the thing. So, but then I was pretty much it's just like working my ass off and not making any money. And then I was sitting with a mate at a park bench, and he was working at PricewaterhouseCoopers then. He goes, I think they're looking for someone in, because it was all run by catering back then. It's like, I think they're looking for somebody to join the AV team. I go, give me a shot, I'd love that. Because my nickname's Techie, which is funny enough. So I've had Techie since I was at primary school. So I grew up as Techie. So
why?
Like, I don't know. Like, I remember...
I've always wondered that.
All I remember is a great prep. Something happened, and they called... I think I answered a maths question correctly. I'm good at maths. Maths is my good strong point.
Yeah.
I think I answered something correctly in maths, and then... you're so smart. And they called me technical school, because it started as technical school. Then it just got shorted to techie, and then and all through my whole primary school and life, you know. Like,
I thought it had something to do with AV.
Well, and there's a lot of people who don't even know my real name was Dino until you know, until late in life. Only really the last 10, 15 years. And then everything. And then I look back at my journey, and it's like, wow, all of these jobs that I had and all that, never really knowing what I wanted to do. You know, was never defined what my career path was going to be in my early 20s and 30s. It was like, what am I going to do? Like, I've got so much to give. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I need to be able to do something, because I know within myself I've got a lot that I can give to people, kind of thing. So, and it just all fell into place. And then PwC was 6 years, and really enjoyed that role. I was loving it. And then I remember the Durham, because I worked at Durham's, which was kind of where I started. And then we would get Durham's in for the bigger events, and they would come in. And it's funny because a few of the guys back then I still freelance for us now. But I used to just love getting them in, and I built a really good relationship with them. But they would come in, and the techs that would do the train lines with the cabling.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they would come in and they would just... that's my first, my most vivid memory of Durham's was the train lines. And I knew then, I go, this company must know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Because it's perfect cabling. And that was it. I trusted them in everything because of that. It was like that was... And then, anyway, so... We would always get them in over the years, and then suddenly I said, I've got to move on from PwC. I'm not going anywhere. I do the same thing. I love it here, but there's no growth. This is it. This is the department. There's no...
that's it.
So,
And it's that attitude now as a business owner. It's kind of like that perfect attitude, because now you're in a situation where you can give it your all in whatever direction you want. You've kind of got that control. If you want to make something happen, or you want to move to a different area, you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But that train line story is one I tell all the time.
Yeah.
It's like it's not about the equipment that they brought in.
No.
It was just about the little personal 1%ers, the attention to detail.
Yes, that's what you're really seeing.
Yeah, and I still see that now, and it's
attention.
one of the things.
And a lot of people will think, that's just a little thing, like I won't worry about that. But it just goes to
it's a
show
big thing
you,
for me.
whether it's clients or whether it's just other people you're working with, those are the things that...
It's those details.
And I go around, every jobs, the first thing I do is look at little things, and it's like, why you got one cable there and one cable over here? It's like, no. Streamline all together. It's got to look nice and clean, because it's what's... If my eye is catching that, then that's what other people are seeing.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's, and I think it's just about...
That's a whole different
new world.
That's a whole different episode.
Very
I think
true.
we should talk about the details and the nitpicking, because I could talk for days about drapes and hanging drapes and fluffing drapes. So I think it's been a really good chat. I'm really pleased that that skin in the game is really working for you, for Myles AV. So it's great to talk about.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. I think it's a wrap for today. And as I said, I'm absolutely certain we'll have you back. I think we can actually call you a friend of the show.
Good,
So,
thank you.
thanks, Dino. And I think we should say adios.
Let's do it. Thanks, Dino.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Look forward to the next one.
Indeed. All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Gafferpedia is brought to you by TechBox, Hippo Event Technology, AV Hire, and Cardigan Creative. Catch you on the next episode.